A lot to talk about. We have a lot of... so what's this about 50,000 Bitcoin that I mentioned, right? I did see this, and I did pull this chart from that article. And this is just looking at a Fibonacci level, the 1.618 level. And why this is important is because previous times when Bitcoin has fallen down, okay, to its low after a bear market, after a huge correction, right? We tend to see these tremendous rises, tremendous recovery afterwards. And that point is important because we have seen something like that happen. I mean, actually, not just once, but very often. In 2019, it happened. So take a look right now. According to halving cycle, right? If you look at where we are, we're exactly where we are supposed to be. Coming off from the top, going back down to that very low bottom point and recovering upwards, right? And in 2018, leading to 2019, Bitcoin had a tremendous run up to that same Fibonacci level, right? It went from 3,000 to 14,000 within a matter of months. And then unfortunately, we came back down again a little bit because it was a little bit too fast, right? So if you're looking at our current trajectory, which is in red right now, right? We're at exactly the point before Bitcoin tends to run up quite a lot because we're coming off from bottom. Now the blue one, that was 2 cycles ago. So that one was, it's a little bit off because Bitcoin was much smaller then. Obviously no institutional adoption, no country adoption, no any adoption really, just driven by retail investors. The 2017 cycle, the one last time, you know, a little bit more money, right? The dollar amount obviously bigger, and just, you know, DeFi was getting started. But this time around, we have a whole bunch more. So this recovery up could be quite tremendous, right? And we're talking about this is just this year. This is not even after the halving event. Just the recovery alone for this year could be tremendous. So this is showing if we get to that point, we're talking about in the 50,000 range. And I know many people have talked about this already. 50,000 by, this is projecting somewhere around like August, September timeframe, right? Which means we could still have up and down movement. But if we're following the same path as previous cycles, right, we could have that tremendous upside from here, and that'll be crazy. And my camera is cutting it off, but you can also see on the bottom there. Let me remove my camera. We're also in a bullish divergence on the weekly chart too, which, as the name implies, is bullish. So something to look forward to. We had a tremendous January. So far, a pretty good February, right? Will it continue into March? Well, a few other people that are very bullish. Mike Novogratz at Galaxy Digital says, you would not be surprised if Bitcoin hits 30,000 by the end of this quarter. That means by the end of March. Can Bitcoin hit 30,000, seeing how we're at 24,000? Yeah, we could be at 30,000 in no time. Before I move on, I want to talk about privacy really quick. Are you concerned about your internet activity being monitored? Or are you concerned that centralized exchanges are tracking your location through your IP? If so, and you want to keep your activity and location private, then check out NordVPN. NordVPN helps protect your online privacy and security through their virtual private network spread across the world. Using NordVPN, you can hide your IP address, encrypt your internet connection, shielding your digital life from prying eyes like internet service providers, network administrators, crypto exchanges, and even from the government. NordVPN uses military-grade encryption and has a strict no-log policy to keep your data safe from hackers and cyber criminals. Plus, with over 5,000 servers in 59 countries, you can easily access the internet anywhere in the world while being protected. Whether you're at home or on the go, NordVPN has you covered. If you want to learn more about NordVPN, check out the URL in the description of this video. Take a look at this, a $2 billion initiative to back Web3 startups. You know, again, you're just seeing like endless money that is coming into this space, all right? there's just so much appetite for basically Bitcoin, Ethereum, Web 3.0, blockchain, decentralization around the world. Global adoption is happening right in front of our eyes. And stuff like this didn't really happen in previous cycles. Okay, most of you guys, I think, lived through 2021, and some of this started. But if you lived the previous cycle in 2017, none of this was happening. None. So this is all relatively new. Global adoption, institutional adoption, and plus the holders becoming stronger than ever. Now, the other thing, the big thing got to talk about is this continuing FUD, basically caused by the SEC. So, SEC is going to sue Paxos, okay? And Paxos is a stable coin maker. In case people didn't know, Binance's BUSD is created and minted and basically managed by Paxos. Binance really has nothing to do with it. They just gave the rights to Paxos to do it. So the SEC decided to sue them. And after that, the New York Department of Financial Services also decided to go after them. Okay. Now, what does this mean? This comes right after the SEC attacked staking, right? They went to Kraken. They didn't go to Coinbase. They didn't go to someone else that could actually defend themselves. They went to Kraken because they knew Kraken would fold. And it's the same thing, same playbook. They went to Paxos. Okay? They said, basically, people are wondering what reason they gave, but overall, they're trying to declare a stablecoin a security, which there's no way it fits their Howey test because no one buys a stablecoin as an investment because it never goes up. It's at $1. How could it go up? You can't buy it as investment. You're buying a stablecoin for means of transfer or just means of storage of your money in crypto format, but you're not buying stablecoins to make money, right? But it seems like the SEC wants to declare stablecoins as securities. And the reason why they went to Paxos, just like the reason why they went to Kraken, is because Paxos is a smaller company. They know they can force them to comply, right? Keep in mind, Coinbase also works with Circle, and they both jointly support USDC. Why didn't the SEC go after Circle or Coinbase? Because they know that would take much longer. That would take much longer, maybe not even possible to shut down. So that's why they decided, again, to go after one of the smaller guys, because it's just much easier to win the case, right? So unfortunately, due to this, Paxos has declared that they will not be minting any more BUSD. So in approximately a week, they will no longer take in money and mint new BUSDs. And they said that they will support BUSD for over a year, at least a year. So they're not just getting rid of it. So there's no mass panic right now in terms of converting BUSD into something else. People are still fed up, right? People are still fed up. Robert Kiyosaki, he paints a gloomy picture almost every single day. But what he said is true. Fed forced to print billions in fake money. Well, actually, you just take that back a few years. You should say trillions in fake money. He makes some predictions about Bitcoin being at 500,000, silver at 5,000, or gold at 5,000, silver at 500, Bitcoin at 50,000, right? People are fed up because, yes, not only is crypto being highly regulated, but mainly because the Fed and the governments around the world and central banks, they just continue to print money and print more money and more money and more money and more money. And we're going through that already. We have a debt ceiling crisis in the U.S., right? We spend way more than we earn. And if we can't raise the ceiling, well, then everything shuts down and we're in total disaster. So, of course, the ceiling is going to be raised. And that means the irresponsibility of the Fed and the government will continue on, and that means more money is going to be printed and cause more inflation over time and rob people of their buying power. So people are fed up, right? So this is also just driving more people to Bitcoin, ultimately, right? As more people learn about this, and many people have, they'll just like, I can't trust anything. I can't trust anything that the Fed and the Treasury Department or the governments do, because they're just being irresponsible, really extremely irresponsible. We had several months now where inflation showed, we were heading in the right direction, which is lower, but now we're kind of coming to a halt, coming to a stop, and that's no good. So bringing up all the categories, all the sectors that was measured, what stood out the most? Well, this right here stood out a lot. I'm highlighting it here. There's a lot to see, but energy services, the biggest one is utility piped gas service. Went up 6.7%. It's a huge, huge rise. I don't know why piped gas service, I'm assuming like natural gas, went up almost 7% in January. And there's the market bell. Best bell in the industry. So overall, that brought up energy services up quite a bit. Also, energy went up. Gasoline went up about 2.4% after falling 7% in December. So look at that. We fell 7% and then went up 2.4%. So obviously, that brought the energy sector up a little bit. Food is still on the rise. A lot of you guys know, like, things like eggs are still very expensive. And then new car sales, used car sales, commodities overall went up, and shelter also went up. So shelter right here, 0.7%. Transportation services went up 0.9%. So I think the biggest thing is energy with gas service, and then energy itself, meaning like fuel and gasoline went up. But then, if you look at everything pretty much went up. We didn't see any significant declines, really. Used car prices went down 1.9%. Okay. Fuel. Okay, so fuel went down 1.2%, not counting gasoline, which is strange. Like motor oil, I don't know what that's measuring. Gasoline went up, but fuel went down. I don't know, diesel maybe. No, that should be. I don't know if that counts under gasoline, but I mean, basically January showed everything went up, and that's not good. That's not good overall. There's more talks about this debt ceiling, right? A lot of people saying, hey, you know what? The U.S. could default. Bad things could happen if we don't get some kind of deal to raise the debt ceiling once again. And you guys know, at least you should know, because I've been talking about this, the debt ceiling is basically the U.S. government being, well, the ceiling's there trying to make us be responsible, but raising it continuously forever is us being irresponsible. It's like having a credit card debt that you max out every single month. So you call the credit card vendor and say, hey, can you lift my limit from 10,000 to 12,000 to 10 trillion or 30 trillion? Let's up it to 40 trillion. That's exactly what this means. We're being fiscally irresponsible. Even Fed Chair Powell, he was asked this. He did not want to answer it, but he's like, well, there's only one way forward, and that's to raise the debt ceiling, right? You may be wondering why this has something to do with, what this has to do with Bitcoin. Well, of course, it has to do with Bitcoin, because being fiscally irresponsible with money, with dollars, with hard-earned cash, right? No one wants to see that. No one wants to see their dollars inflated away, because that's exactly what this means. The government cannot pay its debts. So we keep asking for the debt ceiling to be raised, but we go deeper and deeper into debt. And what do? We print more and more and more and more money. And this is what has been happening with people's purchasing power. Basically, you go back to the 80s or 70s before, the dollar was taken off the gold standard, or after, I should say, immediately afterwards. And ever since, it's just been dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, right? And it will continue, and it escalate even more over the last few years. So maybe, number one, Bitcoin pumped up today because you had some people, or maybe institutions or big boys, and I'll get to that in a little bit. They're like, okay, this is no good. This is no good. We need to spend our dollars on something that won't inflate away, and its buying power won't keep decreasing infinitely, right? And they turn to Bitcoin. So that's number one. Number one, I don't know if that's the direct cause, but I think it has something to do with it. At least it will have something to do with it long term as more and more people realize. Even Keanu Reeves, someone that lived in the Matrix, says Bitcoin is an amazing tool for exchange of resources. Criticizing it is only going to make it better. It sounds like Keanu has gotten out of the Matrix.